Chapter 13. At home in an unplanned ministry, I can almost get amused thinking about some good things I've done in life that I never intended to do, and which, had they been presented to me in an outright fashion, I would probably have said, no thanks. It brings to mind my early years on the ranch where we worked cattle every year. We got the calves into a corral, then by closing a gate, we got them into a small pen with a long chute that looked like they could get out through a narrow passage with an exit at the end. When the calf was coaxed into the escape route and stuck his head into the escape hatch at the end of the narrow passage, we yanked the rope to shut the exit steel bars to lock him into position. Then the work began: vaccination to protect from disease, tagging the ear and branding the body for identification, cutting off the horns to make him less hurtful to others, castration of the male to make him less aggressive, less mean, and to ensure tender meat in the future. Many times God has coaxed me with a combination of circumstances that showed what He wanted me to do, something perhaps that I had no inclination to do. God put me in a narrow pen, a civil war, life spared, leaving that field, and I cried, "Dear God, my field of service is closing." The bars clamped about my neck, and the work began. Sickness that took one eyesight and 3/4 ths of the other eye left me so terribly weak and took my ability to drive. Oh, God, why? My world is crumbling, and my ministry is gone. A push from behind with a closed door, a constraint on the left, a slap on the right, and a painful work of discipline. Some growth vaccine for spiritual protection, a tag or brand to better identify me as His servant in this world. A hurtful horn removed, and in 205 cast your bread. Some cases spiritual pruning to make me more gentle, kind, usable, and more broken. God uses a range of tools to do it: sickness, multiple sclerosis in my case, physical limitations, uncanny circumstances, and the list goes on. It has been that way with writing the Bible history books and study materials. It wasn't something I intended to do. Besides that, I didn't consider myself able to do it. But God coaxed, constrained, opened and worked, and here we are. God is very gentle and subtle with us, just as we were with those calves, to get us into a position where we can comprehend what He wants us to do. It's wonderful that we have such a God who is willing to spend so much time to prepare us for useful tasks which we can do together with Him to advance His work in this earth. Every piece of these books, now in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Arabic, has happened gradually as God coaxed me along, towards an unknown destination. Just my uncanny health limitations would have been enough to discourage me from undertaking any such project. God had to gradually move me into positions where I would entertain the thought, because only He could give me the will and strength to keep pushing. Allow me to illustrate this incremental divine pushing in the whole process. Some years earlier I had recorded my live Old Testament Bible history class lectures onto VHS tapes. Now, years later, the first tape had deteriorated with flashes of light throughout. I bought Final Cut Pro. All I knew of computers' programs was Word, and finally learned how to remove the bad spots. When I reloaded it back onto the camera to put on the VHS tape, the camera expired and ruined the soundtrack on the entire film. Classes were to start in 1 week, so I bought a new camera and determined to video the first lecture to replace the ruined one. With Final Cut Pro software I was able to add some pictures which I had always wished I could do with my teaching. After the first class I couldn't believe how nicely it turned out. I told myself maybe I could do the second lesson since it had some minor bad spots as well. Following that, I wondered if I could stretch myself, trust God and manage to finish the first term with 7 lessons. That way, at least the first term would be lovely and consistent. Well, you know the remainder of the story with 23 more lectures. It became the DVD library for the English books and materials. 206 at home in an unplanned ministry English Old Testament project number 1. The first installment happened in 1982 when I gathered some of my teaching notes into a 142 packed page syllabus to use in the Old Testament course at Sydney Bible Baptist College. Many years later the syllabus would get a facelift. A friend was praising the Adobe InDesign software and telling me I ought to learn to use it. He set up a document and offered to give me some pointers how to use it. So I thought I would try to format the syllabus and add some pictures to liven things up a bit. Kathleen Old Testament Guidebook questioned why I was starting another project since we had agreed not to, with both of us struggling with our health issues. I assured her that I was just cleaning up the old syllabus. Frankly, the result was stunning in my eyes. The second installment came when some pastor friends asked me to set up a camera in the college classroom to record the Old Testament Bible history lectures. The lectures were downloaded onto VHS tapes but never used until years later when I became the principal of Sydney Bible Baptist College. The third installment was when I wanted to use the tapes and discovered that the first VHS tape had deteriorated. The fourth installment was when we were having issues with using an expensive textbook along with the syllabus, especially in the Philippines. I came to the conviction that I really should expand the syllabus into a full-blown guidebook for the Old Testament. As usual, Kathleen responded to the spiritual challenge with excitement. Unique and valuable features not usually found in a survey book were added. In the back of my mind with all the projects was my concern for preachers and leaders on the foreign fields. That concern has been proven to be more than justified. 207 Cast Your Bread English New Testament Project Number 2 New Testament Handbook. At one point when we thought there would be no more projects, my colleague had a strong suggestion: you really need a New Testament book with the student workbook and teacher's manual. What you've done with the Old Testament is really effective, but it needs a counterpart to complete the whole picture. I wasn't impressed at the moment, but the more I thought and prayed about it, I knew he was right and I should just trust the Lord to do something so far beyond what I thought was even possible. The New Testament took 3.5 years working up of 12-hour days. Many of those days involved a debilitating struggle with chronic fatigue. Technology and the Lord's Strength and Enablement English DVD Library Project Number 3. Upon completion there would be 31-hour lectures for each of the Old and New Testaments. These were keyed to the content of the large textbook. Accompanying student workbooks and teachers' manuals were written to form a complete Bible history survey course. These DVDs utilize thousands of 208 at home in an unplanned ministry photos, visuals, and maps to make the Bible come alive. The Spanish and Arabic books and accompanying materials are to be used with an on-site teacher. These English DVD libraries are available at www.missionaryoutpost.com/bookshop for purchase in the USA. Both DVD libraries are also available for free salon turned into recording studio public viewing on YouTube. The studio for the video work was Kathleen's lovely, nothing out of place salon. Most of the furniture was removed, the white backs of real estate signs became reflectors for floodlights, and large pictures of Holy Land scenes provided backgrounds for the teaching. The messy studio was a great testimony to God's grace at work in the life of my perfectionist, everything always in order wife. Again, she always responds to spiritual challenges. Old and New Testament DVD Library Spanish Project Number 4. After the completion of the English books and materials, I thought about doing a Spanish edition. An old missionary friend to Spain agreed to oversee 209 Cast Your Bread, the translation of both books. My role would involve constant contact with the missionary to clarify or defend the English text. As a result, the English books got a thorough, pressed down and running over proofreading. It also took a lot of time for me with my sight limitations. This project of both the Old Testament and New Testament books and study materials took around 3 years. All credit goes to our wonderful Lord. As of 2022, English and Spanish books and materials have gone to more than 50 countries that we know about, including many Spanish-speaking countries. They have been printed in America, Argentina, Ecuador, Mexico, and large stock in Nicaragua, Peru, Philippines and Spain. We are so grateful to God for all the projects that He enabled against such human odds. I cannot fathom, much less explain, how they all happened, given my physical sickness and limitations. Arabic Project Number 5. A dream come true, but there was something big and all important to us missing, something that had eluded us for several years. The Lord has left the sweetest until last, may I say, for a 90th birthday surprise. Sweetest because the deep emotion surrounding the Arabic project cannot be compared to any other. The love that God put in our hearts for the people of the Middle East 65 years ago has never waned, rather it has increased. Even our daughters, both born and raised in Lebanon until the Civil War, share an unusual love for the ministry there. Amazingly, my wife in her Alzheimer's world asks everyone all the time where they were born, which goes back to her desire to ferret out Arabic people because of her special feeling for them. Dalil for Old and New Testaments, but God would, in His perfect timing, lead us to the Dar Manhal al-Hayat Christian Publishers through a friend. They agreed to translate 210 at home in an unplanned ministry, publish and distribute our Old and New Testament Bible history books in the Arabic-speaking world. We agreed to raise the funds for the project. This project took about 2 years and 6 months to complete. Both of the Old and New Testament books consist of NT Student Workbook with NT Al-Musa ID, approximately 450 large A4 pages, beautifully formatted and produced. The first printing of the Dalil for the study of the New Testament was out of stock after 9 months. Reprinting has been concluded for both the Old and New Testament books. Free student workbooks and teachers' manuals are available in PDF format for both the Old and New Testament study courses. When my daughter gave me the courier package of books from Lebanon, my heart rate increased and a big smile came across my face. She said, "You're really happy, aren't you, Dad?" This happened the week of my 90th birthday. When I took the beautiful Old and New Testament Arabic books into my hands, I felt I was holding 2 precious babies who would serve the Lord in the Arabic world until Jesus comes. I can hardly sleep just thinking what a privilege God has given us. What a blessed gift on my 90th birthday after 63 years of ministry to our beloved Arabic peoples. Of course, the precious souls who have come to Christ and have been influenced by our lives and ministry are the eternally important thing. But on the tangible front, we are thrilled to no measure to be able to cast these pieces of bread, like pieces of our lives and labors, upon the fields of our love, trusting God to make them from now until Jesus comes, a blessing, help and encouragement to living pastors and their people. As we have commented before, it is more than the tombstone with our names carved on it to leave behind. What a great unplanned legacy is ours in the hands of our Almighty God, who planned it and gave us the privilege of being His helpers. 211 Cast your bread holding the dream come true. Student testimonies. This was a unique study experience which connected me to the New Testament world. I gained real insight as to how, where, and why each book was written. The Words to Note section of the handbook brought New Testament words to life in their historical and cultural context. The author's experiences added a special flavor of interest to the course. My knowledge of the New Testament has been greatly increased, as has my desire to apply what I have learned. I really do appreciate all the hard work and time spent on putting this material together. It is really clear and easy to follow. It has much background material with many insights that I was not aware of. It is very useful now as I read the New Testament and is resulting in my getting a lot more out of my Bible study. The Kansas, USA, church that I established in 1954 decided to run the New Testament Bible history course, even though they were doubtful how many 212 at home in an unplanned ministry would respond. They were surprised when 55 people enrolled, from ages 15 to 84. The 84-year-olds said they struggled with the dates but managed. An additional 40 people bought the materials to attend and audit the course or to study at home. The pastor testified that the course revived the three-language legacy students in their study of the Bible. 2 retired pastors in the church, who took the course, believed it was the best study course they had ever undertaken. I might add that both the pastor and his wife took the course, which added excitement and competition to the class. 213.